Hello, you guys, and welcome to the show. I'm sorry about that last stream. I forgot to hit the volume, so I was talking, and of course, you could not hear me, so I just started over. Welcome to the show. I am Chantel, and this is my husband, Chris. He's joining us tonight from the family edition of Let's Keep It Real. I like to bring him in when we're talking from a spiritual perspective regarding some of the topics that we put up. And tonight we're going to be talking about a special topic that's dear to our hearts because we are, as some of you know, raising our grandchildren. And so we had a good conversation going on this week concerning some of the behaviors that we're seeing as elders in our communities, in our family. And we thought, you know what, let's talk about it on the show. So tonight we're going to be showing um, a video off of YouTube that Dr. Phil uploaded, and he often upload awesome videos on because as we know he's dealing with things related to family matters a lot. And so we're going to share in just a minute one of his videos, um, so that we're going to view the video, and then after that we're going to have a discussion about um, children with developmental issues that spill over into create bad behavior. And so we're going to talk about family matters concerning our children and their development and their environment tonight, right? And we're going to talk about some of their social, um, some of the talk about how they function socially, right? And the behaviors that can show up doing their socializing with other young folk in the community. So we're going to touch on it briefly. I'm trying to just tie it into the conversation that we were having earlier in the week about our children and their behaviors. So again, as grandparents and mothers and fathers, um, we always seem to think that, you know, we have the answers and it's our way or the highway. Well, always, but sometimes we think like that, and thinking that way can affect our children in the worst way. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and put this video on for you. We're going to hear what Dr. Phil has to say. And then, like I said, we will kind of throw around a topic a little bit. Sorry, you all, I'm not feeling, keep me in prayer. I'm not feeling very well today. And I wanted to do the show. And so there it is. We're going to do the show. The show must go on. Here we go.
And we don't always get to choose how things are going to unfold. You know, if you get a child that has something in their life that disrupts the normal developmental stages, we can't ignore that that's going to have an impact. You know, when you're born, you start forming certain attachments. When you have physical contact with your mother and your father, you learn that human contact is okay. You learn that when somebody reaches for you, that touch is for comfort. It's not a risk. And so that's where we form attachments. And if you don't have that, then it's very possible to form attachment disorders. And if a child is ill and they spend a lot of time in the NICU or they spend a lot of time in the hospital, in and out, they have a chronic disease, that can really take away a lot of that bonding time between a mother and child, where they would be in physical contact and they feel the warmth and the comfort and even hear the heartbeat of the mother. Those things that are so essential that can affect how that child can bond later in life at 20, 30, 40 years old. And you can't ignore, just because somebody gets over a physical illness, that there weren't problems with developmental stages early on. And when somebody has a chronic disease early, that writes on the slate of who they are. And then if that child doesn't adjust well, And so they come into conflict with authority, and now they're going into like juvenile detention or some kind of group home or into foster care. Now you add to that institutionalization. And then we see all of a sudden this kid doesn't fit in somewhere. Well, of course they don't, because they've never been socialized. They didn't get the developmental aspects that they needed when they hit those benchmarks, and then they weren't socialized along the way. So you need to ask yourself, if you've got a child that didn't go down the path where they had normal developmental opportunities, are they doing what they're doing because they missed some of those things? Do you need to go back and close the gap and catch those things up? And if the answer is yes, there's help for doing that. Study that, ask for help, get the kind of guidance that you need. In this case today, we got a 15-year-old kid that's out gangbanging. Why? Because that's the group where he found acceptance. He didn't find it at home. He didn't find it at school because he was out of sync with the rhythm of everyone else. So we found a group that didn't have much of an admission criteria. Unfortunately, that group is criminal. So we've got to reset the button and see if we can we got to hit the reset button and see if we can get back in sync by taking him completely out of that environment.
When Gabe got cancer, our entire lives turned upside down. Now we have to save him from this gang lifestyle that he's trying to lead.
Stop calling the cops on me.
You don't expect me to call the police when you're running away, stealing guns. I sometimes feel that when he went through his treatment, the chemo took a piece of his soul. It was like a switch flipped. He was angry, became very aggressive, verbally, physically. He was not himself. At 10 years old, he was definitely starting to hang out with the homies, the thugs. At age 12, Gabe broke into an elementary school and vandalized it. He served 2 weeks in juvenile hall, but he was placed on probation until the age of 15. At age 13, he had tried cocaine, and I heard that he was also popping Xanax. Last year, Gabriel came storming through the door. He was covered in blood. I thought his nose was broken.
We robbed the wrong person who is a homie. We stole guns from him, okay? On accident.
He said that he had broken into a house and stole some firearms. The gang members beat the crap out of him.
I'm not from the hood, but I kick with the homies. My day's pretty simple. I just get up, call the homies. They'll just come to my house, and then we'll just post up. We just get like tequila, beers, smoke weed sometimes. Usually we just mob it, and then if anybody starts tripping, then we start tripping too. If you're walking around at night, you're probably gonna get either jumped or popped. That a couple days ago, I was just posted, sitting there, and then out of nowhere, like pop, 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 and then I turn around and like there's like a laser right next to my homie's head, and then we started running hella fast, and beefing it with a lot of people.
Is there like a hit on you?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't snitch. I've never snitched in my life, so I'm not gonna say like where I was at, who got shot, who I think it was. I can't say that I'm from the gang, but I kick it with all the homies from the gang. The first time I got locked up in juvie, it was cool. I was like, I'm gonna be here with my homies, and I did like 50 days. I'm off probation now, so I'm just chilling because I maxed out. I've already been locked up 11 times. I'm trying to get my felonies off my record. I'm not trying to be in the system locked in my whole life. I told my parents I wasn't gonna go back, but they don't believe me.
Ask yourself if your kid's really a bad kid or if they're just out of sync because something threw them off in their early developmental stages.
So there it is. Sometimes it can be that something threw them off in the beginning, right? We're talking about our children today and the behaviors that we're seeing that's playing out in our communities, And so what can we do about it as parents, as grandparents, as community leaders? What can we do about it? How can we fix it? How can we stop repeating the same behaviors that probably got our children and our grandchildren in the situations they are in the first place, right? Did we miss something as parents or as grandparents? I'm going to take it all the way back to the developmental, look back on your child's developmental stages and see, was there something in each stage that could have caused them to take a wrong turn when they were able to make their own decisions, right? A lot of community leaders that are trying to figure it out and want to see our children change and receive the things that they need in order to be successful. Um, they are coming up; those leaders are coming up with community um, programs within the community that will kind of occupy some of their times. We just saw the young man that was diagnosed early with cancer and just pretty much gave up. I think they mentioned something about him not finding a place where he fitted in because of his developmental issues, and he turned to gangs, and eventually he ended up participating in gang violence. And as a result, he got himself physically hurt. He was always been threatened, well, afraid. Um, Now he's held to the street code of ethics, and he's kind of like you tapped in. So that's a whole nother issue that now he and his family have to deal with in society, right? Because he is bound to this code, to this society that he feels probably his brothers and sisters that love him, and he understands what he's going through, and how do they have to later decide, once our children start, when they get caught up with gang activity and stuff, once they decide that they're going to cut um, that type of behavior off, we have to deal with the threats and the possibility of him getting killed because he don't want no longer want to be a part of the gang anymore. So that's a whole nother situation. Um, it's sad. It's sad that we're our children are ending up in situations like that because somewhere in their development something happened, and either they decided um, or the parents just decided it's too much work and they just give them what they need. Oftentimes in rich families, give them the money, go, give them money or send them off to other schools, and they just kind of throw their hands up, and then they get caught up with being around the wrong people and the wrong, doing the wrong things. And so society um, deals with it. And one of the ways that they're dealt with is through the criminal justice system. And so our criminal justice systems are clogged up with a lot of cases where, and now, with juveniles, involving juveniles. And a lot of the murders and the violent crimes are being committed in Dayton, Ohio by our juveniles. And so we want to talk about that. What Chris and I were talking about the behaviors of our juveniles, and we weren't really pinpointing. You acknowledge that our children, they know right from wrong, and they have to be held accountable for the things that they do when they go wrong. But I went a little further in my thoughts regarding what can be done, and I came up with, well, let's go back. Let's go back and talk about the environment that a lot of our children in impoverished communities, low income communities. Let's go back to, all the way back and see where it could have started. Some of this stuff where it could have started, because it's gotten so out of control, and they don't value morals, and they don't have any values. Our children, a lot of them, that has connected with individuals who feel the same way that one young brother did, and some of those that he's connected to, may not have values or no morals because they were never taught. They weren't loved, they weren't cared for, they were abandoned, they were set aside. They grew up in foster cares and things like that, and they grew up with a lot of resentment, thinking that they had nobody and no place to go. And so they didn't care nothing about values and morals. They mean nothing to them. And so when our children that have been raised to be respectful and to work to become a productive citizen. When our children connect with those children who are just hurt and broken, sad, and just don't give a damn and have the case of the efforts. I don't care. Let's keep it real. When they get that mindset, you know, we have to be able to reach them. We have to be able to reach them, and we have to be desensitized to um, the way we communicate. Like, say, for instance, example would be we're Christians, and just like I just said, I made a statement and said sometimes our kids they get the case of they don't give a F, they get the I don't give it type attitude. We can't be so spiritual or so insensitive that we cannot hold conversations or take the time out to talk to our young brothers and sisters who have decided church is not for me and I don't want to hear, or where was God when we can't get so caught up in all of that we say, that we write them off. The church can't write them off and just put that old school way of teaching and saying, it's God's way, or no, you get on out of here. You're not coming here as a teen, a pregnant teen. Different standards that was set back in the day. They kicked the kids out. The teenagers that got pregnant, they were shunned upon and things like that, and so they end up having to go back to where they were accepted, and so they continue to develop the behaviors that will eventually lead them to committing criminal activity because there's nowhere they can go.
Now, what she just said is key facts about that, because when she spoke about the church, of the people kicking the young people out, saying get up out of here, or the ones that got pregnant. Look at that, and identify that right there, because if you really look at that, those who do that thing towards those children, those teenagers, have forgot where they came from, because we all got a past.
Mm-hmm.
Because we done got it right by God's power, that don't mean we turn around and do them wrong.
Right.
And point fingers.
Or abandon them. Or continue to lock them up.
Right. Because it's like this. Most of us, especially in the African community, we done lived that type of life.
A lot has.
We have lived that type of life. Many of us have. So the best thing we can do is give sound advice. Be real. Be real with yourself. Be real. The Bible said by your testimony,
they were overcome. They overcame by the blood of the Lamb and the words of the testimony.
So we need to testify our life towards the next young people, the next generation.
Mm-hmm, testify, tell the stories, But you know what I found with that, Pastor Chris, is a lot of young folk look at us as being fossils. They'll say in a minute, oh yeah, that's the old way. They don't do that no more. This is the way they do it, and I'm not listening to. I don't know if I care about that. Where was God then, or where was and so they will hear you, but because they probably heard it from people that care about them, whether they be in foster care or whatever, or living with grandma now, they will hear you. They will listen out of respect, a certain level of respect. But then they go and they go on and do what they want to do, and that's the generation that we're dealing with now. They're gonna go on and they're gonna do what they choose to do.
That's why we have to be the ones that shape their mind, whether it be a parent, a grandparent, some type of role model in the child's life. Mm-hmm. And many males that grow up in a household with their mothers, they try, just like that video we just seen. We seen the young man's mother who was being there for him, showing the love, saying he's gonna change his life and this and that. But yet, where's the males at? Where's his daddy at? Where's his brother or uncles at? To shine a male figure in his life to live a right way, to direct his life in the right path. So he didn't find it, and I can tell that he ain't find it in his own household with his mother. Mm-hmm. So what did he do? He went out to look for some type of father figure, some type of role model, mm-hmm. male figure in his life. Mm-hmm. And so he found it in the gangs.
Yeah.
the gangs mapped out who he wanted
His
manhood, his life,
Mapped his
of
life.
being a man.
Mhm.
And we know that's a false type of living,
Mhm.
a false type of living, a false identity crisis type life. And
Come
that's
on
not the
now.
right way. So therefore, they end up putting in his mind that wrong is right and right is wrong
Yeah.
in his mentality.
But that's
So-
how the enemy works. That's
That's
how
how
the
the
devil
enemy
works.
work.
And they don't, a lot of times our children, they leave the church and they put their trust in them type of individuals that will mislead them. And then they're stuck and they're caught up. But that's, as far as scriptures, that's what the scriptures say, that they will be taken away by wolves and, sheep's clothing. So they're being fooled and they're being bewitched and pulled away from the ones that, will offer them good counsel. We were talking in our conversation last week, Pastor Chris and I, just observing things that are going on within our families, watching our grandchildren grow up and seeing from afar, we know the type of decisions they make. A lot of, when you're doing, let me say this before I get into our conversation. A lot of children, unless their minds are made up, like when they're young and they have a heart for, say, God, right? Unless they have come up in that way and they were born to learn of the teachings of Jesus Christ, right? And unless they were born in to do that, um, it doesn't matter like if they're in church, right? It doesn't matter what we say to them or how important how much time we spend letting them know how important it is for them to be a good citizen, a good child, a person that can be respected. It doesn't matter how often we enforce that. I believe that they have to know that. They have to want that. They have to see, no matter what's going on in my home, in the life of my mom or dad or grandparents, no matter what's going on and what kind of issues, problems my uncles, my aunties or cousins are causing this family, I'm going to, when I get, if they don't have that, when I get grown, I'm going to do things differently. If they don't have that type of mindset, if they're going through something in their homes, they're going to end up probably being the product of their environment, right? Meaning I know that there's a few issues that our children, our African American children, are faced with, and a lot of poor Caucasian and other races are suffering with not having, with having a lot of lack, not having, and so because they don't have food, clothing, proper education, a place to housing. Because they suffer in those areas within our communities, it's hard to focus on it's going to be all right, you know, um, follow my instructions. God is with us. It's difficult because I can remember as a child coming up in Cincinnati and we were in the struggle. And we used to go to school and mama couldn't do our hair and things like that. And we didn't have the best of clothes. And so we were picked on a lot. We were picked on. And some of the children in Cincinnati, they were just determined to like just tear you down. Like you walk in the building, it's a group of your peers, just, what they call capping at the time. Remember capping? Like you're going back and forth talking about each other from, and just ridicule one another and stuff. And so there was a couple of guys in school and they were really good at capping. And so they would, run out of things to talk about. And then so they would start picking people that was coming in and just start capping. And no child wants to be talked about or embarrassed in front of their peers. So what we started doing, instead of, going into class, just, oh, shut up or whatever, going into class, some children's self-esteem is so low that it really affects them mentally and some to the point of suicide. And so what we did, because we were affected by a lot of that was going on in the public school system, and so we started skipping school. We started, it took one friend to say, Y'all could just say, I don't going through all that. That's where I be at. Or I go home. My mother, she drops us off at school, but then we go over to our cousin's house or wherever, and we go back to school at first lunch bell break, right? Because we had two breaks. And so they will go at a later lunch period. But during the morning, we spent the time over to this friend's house who was smoking marijuana and drinking. And so just being a part of that environment, we picked up those habits to smoke and drink, you know. And then oftentimes we would go back to school, and I'm talking about eighth grade, no, seventh grade, go to school and we're high, you know. And so being in elementary, being a straight A student goes from being a straight A student to failing grades. And then mama's working, a lot of times in our home, mothers and fathers, they're working a lot and they're not spending a lot of time with the children at home. A lot of them don't have an education. They can't help with homework, and the child knows nothing. So then you see the child's grades failing in school. And then what you get when you get home is just, when you got to show that report card, you're just in the African American community, in some families, you're getting beat up. You're getting beat up, or privileges, as I grew, privileges start being taken. Well, I end up dropping out in the seventh grade and didn't even go to the eighth grade because I got with the wrong people. And so after that, I was just skipping school, and got pregnant at 16. And so my whole life changed. I never even got a chance to live a life because I became a mother at such a young age. And so then I was off to, they're at having sex, drinking, and smoking. So making poor choices. And then it's like a cycle of just picking the wrong type of boyfriends. So I have some of our young women, young girls are, single mothers now with 2 and 3 kids, by the time they're 19 years old. And they're trying to establish something, but the young boys that they get caught up with, they're not staying around and help take care of the babies that they're. And so then they're getting caught up and getting connected to the wrong individuals. And so now they're taking on lives of crime. They started taking on lives of crime because they didn't have no income, and they needed jobs. But when they got jobs, mom or dad needed the money to contribute to the household, which a lot of times you still couldn't see nothing, you don't know that they're paying bills. You still living in poverty.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so many reasons why in impoverished community, low income communities, that we see a lot of criminal activity happening today. And it's worse seen today because now they're saying, I don't want to listen to mom no more. I don't want to listen to dad anymore. They didn't know. They're okay with working at a factory making no money, but I want to be this. I want to be that. Then we have social media, platforms. We have TikTok. We have Instagram, that's saying you're teaching our children a whole lot of religion, teaching them different types of religion and spirituality. There's just so much stuff going on that's making them feel that they're gods, that they can make their own decisions, they can do what they want to do. And so when it comes to individuals who might say, I want to mentor, I want to develop a mentor program to try to turn this child around, to try to show them that there's a different way of doing things. I want to show them that they matter, teach them that they're worth, something, that they can be whatever they choose to be, that they can be great providers for their families, and they can show their sons. Like now I'm hearing a lot of the fathers step up and say, as a matter of fact, Usher on the BET Awards made this big speech about how it's time for the fathers. This is the year, he said 2024 this is the year for the fathers. That was a man it's a man standing there, and with all the riches, everything he wants, the one thing he didn't have is a father. because more than likely, I don't know what his father was caught up in, but I would love to know. Who else do we know like who's made it and their father work is not there?
It's a lot of
It's a whole lot of celebrities. So even though our sons and our daughters, they may make it, and becoming successful, but some of them still to this day do not have their fathers, and their mothers and they're giving paying homage to their moms who had no other choice but to continue to raise them unless they just gave them over to the system. And so now moms are like taking on the roles of dads, and then we see a lot of young men confused, that's who are not aware of what it means to be a man. So they're taking on the image of their mothers, and so we're seeing a lot of that identity crisis going on.
And so yeah, and she said a lot of mothers are being mothers and fathers. My mother was a mother and father to me and my brother.
Yeah.
Growing up in here in Ohio to the age of 15, then moving to California, she did the best she can do. But as we got older, we was making choices that was wrong choices on our own hand.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because the absentee. We had our stepfather there, you know what I mean? But in our mentality, love my stepfather. But at that time, just through the experience that we went through, mama being jumped on, mama protecting herself with these men, it was violent jumping on her. It kind of shaped us in a violent type way, to be violent in some ways, protection. Brother learn how to use our hands in the best way we can, and we defend ourselves. Took ourselves to the street, took it to California, and took it further than that, because when the environment we got around in California, we began to adapt to that environment. We see the young kids, teenagers our age, got money, got bling, 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 all that stuff. So we decided we want to sell some crack cocaine, taste of that, join the gang. We did that stuff. Then my brother did. Fighting all through high school. We hustled. We did everything we can. Had women in our life, teenage women in our life at that time, and growing up until the day that we seen the ones we was with dropping off, dying of violent crimes, such and such, that I started really thinking in a reality check on that end. This gang life and this dope life ain't for me. We didn't get so much caught up in it that fall straight to it. But we had some type of common sense that want to live. But yet we still had treacherous type lives. Still the identity crisis my wife just said about that we was trying to find. And we ain't find it during them years. Still violent. Me and my brother end up going to prison. Still ain't find that identity. Doing things that's lawless that we shouldn't been doing. But it took a long number for me to be transformed, for me to end up meeting God to find out who I am. Then I learned my identity and who I am. So I don't take the prison life away from what I went through. That was the best thing that happened in my life to transform me. Because I would have been in the graveyard somewhere myself, But, society can shape the young men. Some dead, there's a lot
Society
of them dead.
have shaped something.
Shape many of them.
Behaviors.
Behaviors. Many of them
Negative.
in the grave. Just like I said, I see many deaths in California. Many deaths. People that we knew, people that we hung around with, died young age, 16, 15, 18, 19, you know what I mean? Come back to Ohio. Friends dying at 20, 21 that I grew up with. Just the choices that we done made in life. Just like I said, I thank God. And now that if you have children, grandchildren, or young teenagers, the best thing you can do is shape their mind. Don't be much harsh on them. don't do this, don't do that, or tear them down with words. The best thing you can do is encourage them to give them choices or give them advice about their choice, because they still gonna make their own mind up.
They don't want our advice.
What they want to do, but we still try. Love is the thing that's gonna keep that bond. Love is the one gonna cause a child to change or transform or whatever in his life. But
what do you say to the parents that have given them love, have given them everything that they wanted, and for the ones that have decided, that's not what I need. I need fulfillment. I need to figure it out on my own. What would you say? How can parents support those children?
don't stop. Don't give up on them.
Don't stop what?
Stop encouraging them. Don't stop
Encourage them to do what?
Advice. Giving them advice. Tell them the right way to make the right choices on their own accord. Not trying to control them or tell them what to do, but advising them. That's all you can do.
He said it.
Advising
Not trying to. Not. We're gonna take the advising off the table, because we're dealing with a different. And it's just my opinion.
Yeah.
We're dealing with a different generation. I think it's time for parents to really start listening to their children. We have to listen to our children and let them decide what they want to do, right? Let them decide, right? And I believe, as a child psychologist once said, let them make their own mistakes, because experience is a good teacher. And if you've talked to your blue in the face and you've tried everything, you've sent them off to school after giving them all the love and kindness and wonderful advice that we do, after we've done all of that, and if they still present as out of control or misbehaving all the time, you find yourself back and forth to courts because something they have done or not done when it comes to the criminal part. Then at some point you have to say, hey, listen, I can't do it. We just went through that. We just went through that with one of our grandchildren, right?
Yeah.
Remember, mom had did everything that she could do. So she said, here you go to your daddy. And so when he saw the grass wasn't greener on that side, he ended up back with mom. And now mom is back trying to figure it out. She is totally exhausted because the last 4 years has just been totally, well, maybe longer now, has just been totally out of control. And the behaviors had gotten worse and worse. And some of the things, unimaginable things were being done. And so in an effort to help to heal some of those parents that have done everything, they have advised, and nothing has worked. I say to those parents, at some point, they're going to have to bump their head and learn it the hard way. Hard knocks. We don't want to see our teenagers, end up in living a life of crime and criminal activity. But if you can honestly say you have done everything, you can. If you can't say that I've gotten now, my grandson's mom has done everything, and I'm telling you, when I mean everything. That boy don't want for nothing. And so, but his mindset is, this is what I like, this is what I do. And I believe that he may have some challenges that he don't want everybody that he's dealing with within himself when it comes to his identity, that he doesn't want everyone to know. So he's a different type of child, and he's introverted, he's living within himself and everything, he deals with. He's a runner. He's not a talker. He'll listen, but when he's caught up and he does something wrong, he runs because he does not want to face the consequences of his actions. So he will literally run if you say he's done something, and he'll say, okay, we can talk about it or whatever. Okay, we'll talk. Honey, by the time you show up, he is gone. Forrest done ran. And Forrest will keep running until he get tired, and he'll stop. And then he'll rest at some point and say, you're right. I'm sorry. But he has developed that routine of running from his heart. So we have our children, they're running because they're tired of the way that they are being dealt with when it comes to their behavior. They're tired of hearing our advice. They're tired of hearing our recommendations. They want to be who they want to be. And so they want to do what they want to do. And when they're juveniles, all we can do is take it to court and say, this child is unruly. I don't know what else to do. What can I do? And so thank God it's taking me to the leaders in the community. Thank God for those leaders that's saying, hey, listen, give a bunch of them to me. Give them, because, it really takes a village to raise a child, Chris. I really believe that these days.
That is true. But listen to this. And this is facts, not opinions.
We need more funding for programs like that.
When a child is bitter or a child going through some type of stuff in their life, we don't cuss them out. We don't speak down on them or use profanity on them or provoke them.
The Bible says.
Listen what this word said in Colossians 3:21. It said, fathers. It don't have to just be father. This is the male figure, grandparent, male figure, uncle, male model in a person's child's life. Do not be bitter. Do not embitter your children, or they will become discouraged.
Yeah.
See, if they become discouraged, then they end up being angry. Then when they be angry, they end up running off, committing criminal acts, criminal mind mentality. Remember, I said it's about shaping the individual's life, shaping the child's life, asking the child questions, asking the child what they feeling. As my wife said earlier, what they feel, what's going on, how do you feel, what's going on with you? Tell me how you feel, so they can empty that mess out. Because even though they caught up in some type of life pattern, they can always come out of that life pattern. Just like I said, love, positive words can shape the child. Even though they doing what they doing, but more than likely our attitude and how our approach is towards a child is going to make a difference in their life. Because sooner or later, they're going to start thinking about the choices they make. They're going to start thinking about why I'm acting like this. They'll start thinking about that because the Bible even said a child know right from wrong, even though they're young. Mm-hmm. They know right from wrong. So we look at that like that. Then the other one said in Ephesians 6:4, fathers, do not provoke your children. Instead, bring them up in the training, in the teachings of the Lord. How do we do that in the training and teaching of the Lord? Live the life. Live the life.
You got to. You got to
demonstrate much as what
it.
we speak is demonstration.
Mm-hmm.
Demonstration of love. Actions. That's what they see. That's what they want to see.
Model the behavior that you expect
now,
from them.
I can say that I'm guilty of that. I have not modeled the behavior. I failed in many areas.
We're talking about today. Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's not about your past failures or my past failures right now. It's about, understanding the generation that we're dealing with today. Exactly. And they don't want us to shape them. They don't want that. But like you said, we still instill good God principles, morals, and values in them. And what we're talking about this week was train them up in the...
Yeah, train a child. In Proverbs 22:6, I was going there. Train up a child in the way he should go. Mm-hmm. And when he is old, he will not depart
from it. And that's how we do what we have to do as parents. We set the standards as far as what we expect in our homes, but we have to remember as parents that we are raising little individuals, mm-hmm. and they have their own mindset, and we have to find a more therapeutic or more healthy way to bring about discipline and to get our points across. But we also have to remember that everyone is different. So we cannot make our child be someone that we never got to be or we want them to be. They have their own minds. And if we don't realize that and chill out, just relax. And if we don't realize that and give them the room to grow and be who they're going to be, then we're doing them injustice, or is it disjustice? We have to draw lines. We have to set boundaries to protect them and to keep them from gearing off course. But we have to allow them to create the path in which they're going, and just if they do decide to go the wrong way, we have to step up and say, instead of beating their backs in when we see them taking off in that direction, we have to say, hey, listen, are you sure you want to go that way? This is the concept. This can be, it can cause you some problems. This is going to be problems. Have you thought about, the road ahead? Have you thought about, how many lights, how many, stops, how many, do you know what's going on? And sometimes they'll say, they'll open up the discussion and say, well, I really don't know, but I was thinking about blah. And so that's the opportunity for more conversation, a therapeutic conversation. And you might get them to realize that the road they have chosen may not be the right road. So you may be able to recommend well, let's try this. Have you thought about this? This is similar to what you were trying to do, but you're going to have less stumbling blocks if you may have tried it. What you think about that? So when they begin to be, even as little kids, like Baby J, Baby J and Jayon, Baby J just think he knows it. He gets it. He has it. And, and so he's going to do his way. I sent him to a family member's house. We let him go over there and spend some time. And he went over there. We want to preach the word. I had just told him, I don't want you trying to preach right now because there's a lot still you have to learn. And so you have to be careful who you're sharing the gospel with. And you be careful. I don't want you going over there, doing all that. Guess what Baby J did? He went right over there. And one of his little cousins had to let him know. And he made a statement and said, Jesus died on the cross, and Baby J corrected and said, no, God died on the cross. And so they got into their little disagreement, and the N word was used by the other grandbaby, and that was it. And it's time for Baby J to come home. And so sometimes they will see you go ahead and make your own choice, travel that road, and experience is going to be your teacher. Now I can warn you as parents. So we warn them. And sometimes, we just have to realize they're going to have to learn the hard way. And unfortunately, it may cost society. That consequence might be a major one, But thank God again for those that are seeking funding to try to, to be out there, to say here, when they do go the wrong path, they can say, hey, come on in here, open a door for a community center or mentoring or other programs, and they can say, hey, what's going on? What's your plan? Where are you going? Where are you headed, buddy? Let's sit down and talk about it. How's that working for you? We need those individuals in our communities. And I know our bishop actually, and his wife is working on some stuff in Florida, to do for the youth down there. And so kudos to our bishop, Bishop McGuire, Angela McGuire, who I think it might be even Angela McGuire. And, they're trying to open some doors for some kids that maybe have taken the wrong road, or to prevent some from taking the wrong road. However, they want to be a beacon out there for those that, whichever, to say, hey, come on, let's burn off some of this energy, or let's talk about some things, and some mentoring and stuff.
Watch this.
We need more of those people.
We just talked about training up a child in the way he should go.
Yeah.
Now, let's look on the bad side of the training of the child, and they should go. There's many households right now that's in the hood, in the ghetto, is misleading their children.
Yeah.
They training up to be criminals.
Yes. Yes.
Training
yes.
them up to be gangbangers. Training them up
Thieves.
to be thieves and robbers
Robbers.
and party lives and all that stuff. The way they live it.
Because of
So
lack
they really
of
don't
funding,
even talk to
money.
their child. Their child is there, but yet they're not talking to their child. But their life is speaking to them and how they training them up.
You have parents right now, Chris, are actually teaching them, like you said, how to steal, honey,
Yeah.
at young ages, how
You
to
know what?
panhandle and all kinds of stuff instead of teaching them how to be productive in a more
Right.
safe way, right?
And see, like back in 1985 in Middletown, Ohio, I grew up with a kid that I went to school with. His mama did just that with him and his sister.
They're doing it today.
She was she was telling her to go steal. She was agreeing.
Yes.
She orchestrated. They used to steal out of stores all the time. This is back in the days when they had the old store called Swallow's and all that stuff. I mean, the kid grew up into a man, a teenager, and kept on stealing, kept on stealing. I mean, kept on stealing. It became a career criminal, robbing banks and all kinds of stuff. Whatever he wanted, he took because that was instilled in it because a parent was training him to steal for him and them and her.
Yeah.
And destroyed his whole life.
Yeah.
Destroyed his
And
whole
you
life.
see it all the time.
All the time.
And we, again,
Dope
right
selling,
before.
teaching them how to cuss, teaching them how to be gangbangers. When I was in California.
Keep it today. Keep it today.
We
want to keep it today.
Keep it today. In the 80s and 90s, keeping it today, teaching their children to be gangbangers at age 5,
they
teenagers
are.
and all that
Today.
stuff. Today.
It's still going on.
It's still going on. Ain't nothing changed under the sun. Just 8 years is going by. The same foolishness.
It's
still
worse.
going
Seems
on.
like it's worse.
They training the kids for self-destruction.
We were just talking about how, and I mentioned a little bit how, like today, you know, we've seen this stuff right in our own families, how parents just not being focused on taking care of their business, staying focused, working, you know, demonstrating what it takes to be a productive citizen. If they're not seeing those role models in them, in their homes and in the communities, more than likely they are going to get out here in these streets in what we call get it by any means necessary because they don't have nothing to eat. If you've never been a child that was basically starving, had no clothes, no shoes, you know, if you have never experienced those things, you will never, and I have been, you will never know how that feels. And it can really, really affect you, you know. And once, like Chris was saying, once you develop those ways of surviving, those are survival skills. When they get out here and they get it however they can, they are trying to survive. Our young people in our, you know, Black, African-American kids and even poor Caucasian kids and whatever other races, they are trying to survive. And when you got a world that's, you know, we live in America, it's all about show and tell and how much you can get, you know, have and having more than the next man. And our children have been raised up and they see it everywhere. And so they want. And they just Hail Mary, it's whatever with their life. They don't know what the future holds because a lot of times, again, you don't have mothers teaching them in these impoverished communities. You don't have mothers teaching them the right way of making money, getting money. All they see is mom and dad working, trying to get money. And that's so they take the first available jobs, whether it be McDonald's, you know, factory jobs. They just want a job. They're not thinking about how important it is to be educated so that you can get an even better job. You know, those things are being taught because a lot of times their mothers or fathers haven't taught them because they lack education. They don't know because no one's taught them. And so, and it's easier to get the young people into these communities and centers and things than it is the parents. But a lot of the parents need to be educated. A lot of the parents need help so they can know how to present in the home. Whether you be the father, the mother, the big sister, big brother, cousin, uncle, whoever, we need to get it together. We really do. Lack is not an excuse, because there's too many opportunities for you to go back to school. Yeah, you may have to pay money back, but don't worry about that. If you're a Christian, let go and let God. Put your trust in God. Have faith. Go back to school. Do what you have to do. If you have children in the home, and especially if you have teenagers, show them the right way. We don't have to suffer in silence. We don't. Even if you can't read, go back to school. Learn to read, mother, father. Go back. Especially if you've taken on responsibility of raising your grandchildren and you need everything. You need to equip yourself with everything possible in order for you to make sure that your grandchild or your children are going to be successful. It's no excuse.
Now watch this.
I'm about to start preaching. I'm about to go. What time is it?
Now watch this. Now let's talk about the ones who are wealthy and rich. They had it on the silver platter. They got the good life, got both parents in the house, and told them morals and all that stuff. But yet they give them things to show they love.
We talked about that earlier.
Yeah,
You can't just give them money.
Listen, the ones who are wealthy, middle class, and the rich ones, and the ones who are high middle class, the children of that section, out there committing crimes and criminal crimes
Because they don't have nowhere to be.
They want to fit in.
We already talked about that.
Or they letting the TVs or the entertainment world should raise them up on how to be. Rap music or whatever it is. Some type of music, some type of film, some type of internet server that's causing them to raise up. So they end up being criminal. Ain't never been a criminal in their life. Now they're criminals.
And their fathers and they're devastated.
Mom and daddy got masters and doctorates, and they out there doing.
And the parents are devastated because they've never dealt with that kind of behavior, and now because they've got connected with gangs or people, in their communities, that somebody that moved in and they straight hood and blah blah, and now they kids they don't know what to do now. Everybody running scared. You got white folk running scared to death about because of the behaviors of the black folks, but I'm running too because the behaviors of the black folks, and now you got the white folk being kids taught how to be thug, live thug life, and everybody going to hell in a handbasket.
White families are scared of their white children. They ain't about the black thing no more.
That's in our communities, y'all. That's in our hoods.
Yeah, so their own kids they scared of now.
Yeah, they want to be rappers and everything else.
And all that stuff.
Because they think we bad.
This is a generation that is a major focus because Satan is trying to destroy this generation.
The Lord calls it an evil generation.
Yeah, this generation right here, the Generation X, we're talking about these children today. It's a whole different generation.
Pray for these babies.
That's all we can do.
They get so much against them.
Let the Lord reach them, but don't stop talking positive to the children to shape their minds and their hearts. We got to continue doing that. But the greatest thing is letting God move on their heart.
Yeah.
Our prayers.
If they want that, everybody don't want God and all that, but we gonna believe. If you a Christian, if you coming from a Christian family, and your children have ran astray or they have been, snatched at the hands of the enemy, don't start praying for them babies. Don't, because even though they out there and they're trying to discover God the way that they are, they don't want God no more. God said once they were there, and I don't know about y'all, but I gave all three of them, I gave them back to the Lord. And the Bible says that they will not be snatched out of his hands. Yeah. So whatever they got to go through, we got to get off of here. But whatever they got to go through, whatever they're going to go through, experience is the best teacher, and God is going to be with them if you keep praying for them. Yeah. Now, if you're not Christian, you don't believe in just Jesus Christ, all I can tell you, honey, there's safety under the blood of Jesus Christ. And if you want to get to know him, you listen, tune in 11:30 on Sundays, the Fruits of the Harvest Ministries. That's our ministry located in Dayton, Ohio. We have live services on there. If you want to know who Jesus Christ is and how to get your children under the blood is a protector. That's what we believe, the shed of blood of Jesus Christ. And if you want to know how to get your baby in safety and trust, and while you sit and trust and wait for them to be okay, whether it be developmental issues that got them to that point, or whether it be because of their environment, If it's because they just decide to leave under the safety of the Lord because they're curious. However, we got to get back to figuring out as parents, what do we do? What can we do to make it better and to finally stop these generational curses, right? Don't let education be an issue. Don't let money be an issue. If you got to work 2 and 3 jobs, work it. But find some time to spend some time and talk to your baby and try to help them, your children, and help them to create whatever it is they're trying to create that can help them, right, to grow financially, spiritually, emotionally, physically, whatever you can do to help them. Do whatever you got to do. And that's if you got to go back to school, do whatever you have to do to support your child. You owe it to, here, go ahead, sir.
And most importantly, stay on your knees and ask God to shape their mind and their heart.
We said that.
Right direction.
We said that.
Constantly continue.
We said that.
Us even saying nothing to them.
Did we just say that?
Yeah,
do
somewhat.
That. So it's been confirmation.
I want to enforce that. Enforce that.
Confirmation.
That's most important.
Keep praying.
All right, y'all.
God bless y'all. Good night. I'm going to give me some rest. I'm tired. I'm hoping this show affected somebody. I hope somebody gets something out of this. We said a lot tonight because we're concerned. And we only said it because these things have been happening in our family. And the Lord has opened our eyes to see exactly what is happening. God bless you. Fruits of the Harvest Ministry services. And again, Sunday at 11:30. You have
11:36.
Oh, we changed the times. That's right. It's not 11:30 for a while, so it'll be 6. We fellowship with the Potter's House on Germantown at 10:30. If you ever want to, come fellowship with us, you're more than welcome to the Potter House to do that. We want to thank God for our bishop today. Again, pray for him and his wife. They are putting a program together to help offer programming to the youth in Jacksonville, Florida. And so I challenge you leaders today and mothers and fathers. We challenge you today. Do better. It's not too late. Never too late. Never, ever is it too late. We would hope that you tune in. Service at 6 o'clock on Sundays. We have Bible studies on Wednesday. We'll be doing them live if it's really hot in the church. If not, we'll be broadcasting live on Wednesdays at 6 at 926 Connors Avenue in Dayton, Ohio. Come fellowship with us. Pastor Chris is going to go ahead and pray us out.
Lord Heavenly Father, I ask you right now, Father, thank you for this broadcast tonight, Father, and all who is on here, Father, and all who will be on here, Father, who's dealing with difficult children and troubled children, Father, that they this message tonight, Father, end up helping them, Father, to make reasonable decisions concerning their child, Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, and making the right choice. And most importantly, to cause them to trust in you, to be on their knees, Father, when they can't talk to the child, Father, that you can reach the child's mind and heart. We thank you, Lord, for what you are doing, Father, for this generation of children, Father, that we do not cast away, Father, but yet, Father, we cultivate in prayer, Father, giving them over to you, Father. We thank you and we honor you in Jesus' mighty name.
And before we go real quick, while Pastor Chris was praying, I heard the Lord said, someone's child is in prostitution. They have ran off, and you know that they are prostituting themselves. The Lord just said, I heard the Lord say so clearly, go get them, go get them. Forgive yourself, go get them, forgive them, go and get that child. And when you do that reunion, that child will never be the same, and they will never return back to that behavior, because you caring enough to go get them off the streets will be enough for them to realize that what you have been trying to teach them and show them, it is true. And there's going to be an embrace. There's going to be an embrace. I see the child crying is like a girl, maybe 14 years old, and she was crying, and she was so happy with that embrace. Her life will never be never be the same. She will never go back to that lifestyle. She's waiting for you. So I don't know who that's for. God bless you. Listen, I'm not a psychic or nothing like that, but I am in tune to the Holy Spirit, and that he will show me things to come. So I see that right now. So Father, I thank you right now for that vision and for that for that family reunited.
Amen.
God bless y'all. Good night.
Good night.